Hey everyone, my name's Matthew Arvin. I'm an aspiring game dev. I've made two other games in the past. They're short horror games, nothing special, very simple. But I'm making a new game right now, and it's a roguelike. It takes inspiration from like games like Risk of Rain 2 and Megabonk. So it's very similar in those aspects. And I just thought I kind of want to showcase what I have right now. So I'll just show you guys right now. So I'll go ahead and So right now the enemies have a very basic um, AI where they just follow me and they do they do damage contact. So as you see, they'll hit me for a lot because there's a lot of enemies and the green ones hit faster, uh, but they all inherit from a parent. So I'll go ahead and show you that the player can do damage like that. And as you saw, one died, and there's this Niagara effect that's following me. It's an orb that's the XP amount. As you see in the bottom left corner, I have 0 out of 100 XP. So I'll go ahead and get that, and I'm at 50. Now I'm going to do a little cheat where I press my 1 key, and I get 5 levels. So I'll just do that until I get 21. I should one-hit them. So they're dead. And now I leveled up. Now I choose a stat to increase, and it shows the points remaining. You choose out of these stats: vitality is health, strength is damage, agility is movement speed, dexterity is attack speed, and precision is crit. And then armor is damage reduction. So let's just say I do strength. You see in the bottom right corner, those are my stats. You'll see strength to go up by 1. Now if I go on like that, as again, you'll see. So it keeps working like that. Now, I don't know how I want to exactly implement that yet, because I feel like let's say you just play the game, you get levels, right? I feel like it's going to break the flow with the game just pausing like that, you know? So I don't know how I want to implement that yet. But let's go move on to items. So there's multiple items, and they all spawn in chests just like with Screen 2 or Megabonk. So I overlap, there's an overlap, and I'm able to press E on it. I'll add like a effect of an outline, maybe a widget that displays the E key, but right now, it's just this bare bones. So I click E, and it pops up the item. This item, for instance, is an epic, as you can see by the outline. So for the items, there's a rarity, there's uncommon, it's common, uncommon, rare, epic, and then legendary, and they all correspond to a specific color I've set up in this for the stencil values. But we'll get into all that later. This item is something special because it is not just a regular item that increases stats. This item is an item effect. It can increase stats, but also have an effect on it. So I'll show you that in a little bit. But like this is regular gloves. I'll pick the traveler gloves. It gives me 2 agility. This is a uncommon item. I pick it up and it gives me 5 vit and 2 armor. And as you see, all items are different. Right now I'm mostly getting commons because these have weighted values to them. But I'm going to go ahead and pick up this epic and show you that I picked up the flame core. So this is, I'm going to add an effect later. Picture Megabonk's aura, for example. So this is what that is. It's just an aura damage. As you see, if I get close to this guy, it does specific amount of damage that I set up in the variables, right? So keep doing that. Now I did want to show you guys the damage number system I have. You probably already saw it over there, but like this. You see 55 damage, right? But 110, and you saw it was big, it was crit. That was crit damage. And as you see, I'm just going to give myself a lot of stats, so you can see like the attack speed. First, if I click 2, you can see the stats over there to the left, top left. But we're going to keep going. Let's just do like 300. So this is my attack speed. By the way, this is, like I said, it's a placeholder. It's not going to be the actual way it looks. But as you see, there's the damage. Because we have such a high crit chance, which our crit chance is 100, so it's just going to be crits. You'll see this. The effects do not crit. I don't think I want them to crit. I don't know yet. We'll see. I could easily implement that, but we'll see for now. But yeah, that's the damage number. It follows the camera like that. I kind of like it, and I made it like a little offset, so it's not just stacking all at once, so you can't really read it, even though it's hard to read together, yeah, but I think that's how it should be, you know? Alright, so we'll go into kind of the code of it. With an item system, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do like data assets, or There's a couple items, but I what I did is I did a data table with the struct and enumeration. So as you see, my enumeration's right here. It's just really basic, common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary. And then I have my structure. So we got the item name, the description, the rarity, which is what we use that enumeration for, the stats, and then the static mesh, and the effect class. The effect class is for those effect items, like the flame core we just saw, where it's like the aura damage. And then this is the data table for the items. Now I can add as many items as I want. It's very easy to add. I just add a row and I set it all up, and it's boom, it's added. It's very modular. I like that a lot. So these are the items. These are the rows. That's pretty much it. You can see that we get stat bonuses right here. So for flame core, I did 2 strength, 2 vit. I could change that to 100, for instance, and it will correspond. The legendary right here. It's all this stuff, and you see is the rarity, all that good stuff. Now on the item pickup, so the actual item, which is this one right here. So you can see it's just we have the world collision, so the collision of it, which you'll see when I open up the chest, for instance. It kind of pops out like that. I made it so it pops out like that, but you can't pick it up while it's popping out because I wanted to do the animation, you know? So that's kind of what the world collision's for. Also, the map I did in the arc sets it to a point around, and sometimes that point can go under the map, which yes, I could use a line trace for, but I thought it would just be easier if I just used world collision. Seems easier, plus why not, you know? Maybe I'll have to change it later when it comes to debugging, but we'll see. So that's that. And then we have the pickup mesh, which is blank right now because this is the base item. Everything is going to be blank, basically. And then this is the pickup sphere, so it's like an overlap. So we will go, the most important variable is obviously the item name variable. This is what's going to represent the data table. So we'll go to the event graph, and we'll see that this is what it basically is. So we get the data table. We get data table by row, which is this data table, and then we correspond the item row name to the row name, and then we break it, and we have all of our data right here. So we're going to set the static mesh to the world mesh we have set, which as you see in the data tables, for instance, let's go to the hero sword. We have it set to the hero sword right here. Right here. So it's just, that's how we set the static meshes. And then we will get the rarity stencil value. So this is what's going to set like the outline. And then we're going to, the rarity of it. So it sets like a range of numbers, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then it sets to those values. And then we get the rarity color. Now this is for like the light effect, as you saw. I'm probably going to change this for a Niagara effect later on. So it's more in your face kind of feel. And then we set the actor location to the start location. So the item just doesn't spawn on the ground. You know, it spawns above you and then it goes up and stuff like that. Oh yeah. So now we go to the on component begin overlap. So this is when you overlap where's that? Overlap this specific sphere. We'll cast to the BP. To the player character. We're gonna get the item inventory, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. We have an inventory system. And then we will add the item to the inventory, and then we'll destroy the actor. So that's how that works. So when the player touches the item, we give the player the item, and then we get rid of it from the world, the item. Now, I'll go quick with these functions, but this is like the rarity color for the light. It's just we get the rarity and we do a select node, and we make the color for every single one. As you see, these are all the colors right here with the values, and then we just return it. Now the rarity stencil value is, we do the same thing as a select node, but we make the values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then as you saw over here, we're setting the rarity stencil value to the custom depth value, which we have a material for that, and I'll show you guys that in a second. And then set up pickup enable is just setting up the collision and then disabling the collision. So the item could do the full arc and the full animation, so we can see it, you know, it feels good. So now we need to go to the inventory system, which is right here. Inventory system is basically just one function. There's going to be multiple. It's going to be later because I need to make the item stack. I need to make sure with like when the effect item stack, it does specific something instead of just like stacking them. Maybe I'll increase the damage of it, the range of it, and then the kind of the cooldown of it, like the amount of hits. But this is the function. So what we're doing is we're getting the data table, and we're adding the out row to the variable we have set right here. And then we're going to break it all, and then we're setting the stat bonuses. We're like applying the stat bonuses to the player stat component, which I'll show later. But as you see, we're like strength bonus. We're setting the strength with the strength. So the strength we have right now plus the new strength, and that's the strength we have total. And we do that for every single one. And then we recalculate and broadcast. What this does is just recalculating the stats, and we're broadcasting it to the stat component and the player character, and it'll update. And then for the effect items, we check to see if it's valid first, and then we get the active component. We add the active component, we cast it, and then the item will show in a second. It's just an initialize effect function, and that's what does it all. So for the effect items, instead of just adding it to the data table, which you still have to do, we also have to make a child of the parent of the base effect item, and then you can set up specific code like that. I like that way. It's modular. It makes it so we can just add an effect item however we want it to be, and it should work as long as it's set in that function. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show the effect item base. So this is the effect item base, nothing special. We have two functions, and we have two variables, the owner and the source data. We have the initialize effect, which is we're setting the source data, we're casting it, and we activate the item with that source data. And then the activate item is nothing, because the activate item is going to be for the children of the parent. And that's how that works, because we're activating it in the inventory, which is right here. See the initialization is what activates it. So that's how that works. I don't know how this is going to work in the future, but if it gets buggy or something, I think it'll work. But if it gets buggy or something, I'll work around it. I'll figure it out and stuff like that. But that's how the effect item works. And then this is the error damage, for instance. So I'll go to the event graph. I have start error, and it's just set a timer by event instead of doing like tick, because performance. We're looping it. We're doing it by the tick interval. So this is like kind of like the cooldown you can see it as. And then this is the error tick. So we're checking if it's valid. We have a sphere overlap. That's that sphere you saw. And we're making an array for the objects we can hit, which are pawns, and actors to ignore is ourself. And then just for the debug purposes right now, I'll change that to an actual like effect so we can see it. And then we're looping it. We're looping the out actors, so multiple enemies right here, and then we're applying damage. Which, yes, we have a damage system, which goes into our health system, which goes into our stat system. We have a lot of components. It's all modular. Now, our chest. This is a big one. This one took me a while. So our chest, we'll go to the event graph, and this is what we have. We have a lot of functions. We have a lot of variables, all this stuff. So what it does is, its main job is to interact with the player via an interact system. It will choose the rarity. It will choose the item based on that rarity. It'll open the chest, and then it'll spawn and throw the item. Now the interact is right here. I have the interact set up so it's like the E key. It'll check if the chest is already opened, and it'll check if the player is in range. And then it'll set the chest to open. Right now, I just have the relative rotation. I'll make a timeline so it's an animation of it actually opening. And then we'll call the function open chest. And then we have the timeline for basically it's just the math of the item being thrown in the air. It's just the math for it. As you see right here. And then we're setting the actor location, and we're enabling the collision, disabling the collision, same thing with the rarity light. But like I said, I might change this to be the Niagara effect. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So for the choose rarity function, this rolls the rarity using weights. So it adds all these weights together right here, which we have right here. I have it as 60, 25, 10, 4, and 1. So it's out of 100. And then we do a random roll right here in the range, and we set the roll. And then we check to see if it's less than or equal to the weight of all these of the other weights. And if it's true, that's the rarity it's set to, and it goes to every single one. So this is what decides the rarity of common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. Now we got get random int by rarity. So this picks a random item row from the data table and then matches that row to rarity. So we get all row names from the DT items. We loop through them. Then we get each row from the array element, and we check if rarity matches input, which is what we're checking right here. All this. And then it adds the matching row name to the temp array, and then it picks one random row from that filtered array. So this is how the chest finds a random rare item instead of using a big manual item list. Because before I did this, I had the chest just I basically I put in the rarities manually. I put in the items manually. And I thought like yes it works technically and I can see the upsides to it of like okay, I want this chest to have these specific items. I want this chest to have these specific items. But then I felt like I was getting too off base from my game. I don't want my game to be too overcomplicated. So I was like, okay, forget that. We're just going to make the chest do everything and all the items go in the chest. Plus I think that's more fun for the player instead of being like limited in what items they can get. I think it's better to just have all items and hey, it's roguelike, you know? What you get, it's what you get. So now we have the open chest function. So this one chooses the rarity, and then we call the get random int by rarity, and then we're setting the chosen item rarity. Excuse me. And then we store the chosen row, and then we turn on chest light based on that rarity, which is right here. And then we spawn the BP item, which would be right here. This is just the math for the spawn of it. And then we disable pickup on landing, which is right here. And then we start the timeline, which was this timeline I showed. So it just opens the chest and creates the item function, basically. And I already explained the timeline. It lerps between, like right here, it lerps between the start location and the target location. It adds the arc height with sign, and then it sets the pickup active location. And then it places the item at the final location, and then it'll enable the pickup. So this is what makes it pop from the chest, do an arc, and then fall on the ground. Now we have the interaction system, which right here. Very basic interactions, just two functions, interact and then get interact text. This is all that it is, basic interaction system. But the player stores the current interactable when E is pressed if interactable is valid, which I'll show on my character from right here. Yeah, if the interactable is valid, and then we can interact. And it'll call the chest interaction because we have right here on the event graph, on the interact, on the begin overlapped, on the interact sphere, we're setting to player range, we're setting the player ref, and then we're setting current interactable. And then at the end, we're setting basically it all to none. So this just lets the player press E on it and open it. So that's kind of what I have so far. Oh, wait, for the enemies. So this the whole content browser is a mess. I'll fix it later. Okay. So this is the plan for the future. So we're gonna have multiple enemies, which you see right here. They're all different stats and stuff. They're super basic. Um, for the components for the enemies, we have the enemy combat component. We have the ability component. This is gonna be for the future. I'm gonna have the character to have certain abilities based on the character they pick. Right now, I don't know yet. This is just basic. Picture this character as like a knight. Just picture him as a knight. But I'll make a parent class of this, and then we can make the character like that, and each character has different abilities. This is the health component. Um, this is what spawns the number actor and all those things you see, but this is basically just the health and the apply damage function. So that's how we store our character's health. We have the inventory, which you saw. We have the player combat. Um, this is just how the player does damage. This one took me a while because I had to figure out how to make it so I'm basically doing a box trace in front of me, right? It's like simulating what the arc looks like. But the problem was I was hitting the enemy multiple times with just one press, just one box trace. So I had to figure out how to make it only hit once and how to hit multiple enemies as well. And that's what all this stuff is. But we got to work so far, and so far no problems. But this is what that does. And this is the box trace right here with the math of this box trace. And we clear it and everything like that. Then that's just for the player. The enemies right now, the enemies had something, but I got rid of it and just the contact damage. So I'll see that later. This is the stats. So this is the derived stats, the primary stats, and the base value. This is all we have so far. And then this is the on stats unchanged, and this is the recalculating stats. So this is how we recalculate it right here. It's just the math of it. And this is the recalculate and broadcast, which is a dispatcher, and that's how we can communicate. So for the character right here, oh, that's just the print function. But that's applying damage. Clicking one, that's just the little sheet. But as you see, we calculate and broadcast with the stat component, and then that's how we can be able to recalculate the stats, which is what we set right here. So I'll begin play. If stats unchanged, so if any stats change, that's what this event happens. And then this is just widget stuff. And we're just updating, this is like the begin play, so this is all the initialization, and then we have on death, which is another event dispatcher. But this is how we recalculate our stats and update our HUD and everything like that. Like I said, I might change this later. We don't know yet. I'll see. But the vision I have for the game is there are going to be multiple enemies, as you see, and this we already have this set up basically. But we're going to have multiple enemies, and we're going to have multiple characters, player characters, and these player characters are going to have certain abilities based on their player character type. So let's say a knight can do, I don't know, a rock slam or something. I don't know yet. And an archer does multi-shot, right? Stuff like that. We'll have that set up specifically. And I want the items to be the roguelike aspect of it, and the stats also. But I don't know how I want to do the stats yet. We'll have to see on that. I don't know if I want to add another roguelike factor of it changing the abilities. It sounds neat. So like for instance, Rock Slam is no longer like Rock Slam can hit 3 enemies now. Like it does 3 Rock Slams in front. Or it does lightning damage as a effect, something like that. I don't know if I want to do that yet or how I want to do that, but we'll see. But this is basically what I have right now. It's just very bare bones. I plan on making my own meshes, doing the art myself. I am not an artist. I have very little experience in Blender, but I want it to be my own kind of thing. I also want it for items. I might have to do the Niagara effects myself. We'll see. But yeah, so it's a lot of work for just one guy doing everything, but that's how indie is. But basically, this is just what I wanted to show. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I wonder if this code is even up to par to the standards of others. So far, as to me, it looks pretty good. It looks modular, which is what I want, which is what I was aiming for. So anyone can add an item. You don't really need to know code. You can just add this item. But yeah, please let me know. Thank you so much. I hope you guys will enjoy. The game will be free too. Also, all right, bye bye.